Good day everyone. So obviously with 3.3 we're going to get a new set of artifacts that we can sort of put onto our characters. So what do these artifact sets mean for Kokomi in particular? I've heard a lot of people asking about whether this 4-piece set bonus might be useful. You get more normal attack speed and your normal charging and plunge attacks will increase by 40% for 15 seconds, although you have to hit enemies with a charge attack. So let's just quickly talk about this set before we go to this set. Now, a big thing that a lot of people don't really sort of realize is that this 40% bonus here is part of your damage bonus. So if you go to Kaching mains, you can see the damage formula, and effectively once you sort of work through it, you'll realize that that is where the 40% bonus is sort of added on. Now if you've watched my previous video, which you should see a card up right there now, you would have noted that I went into detail as to how Kokomi's damage sort of works, and in particular how does Kokomi sort of work with Yelan, how does Yelan's sort of damage ramp add to Kokomi, and we can use that exact same analysis to actually figure out what the effective increase is going to be in Kokomi's normal attack. So this situation is very, very simple. I'm not going to go into detail here, but basically you have an existing hydro damage bonus. Basically Kokomi scales of hydro damage, and then of course if you put on a hydro damage cup, you'll pretty much get 75.4. Now what's going to happen here is that this 75.4% is going to have to be added to your 40% here, and the result of this is basically an increase of 22.81% in your final damage that you're going to deal. Basically the way we work this out with a deflation factor multiplied by the new damage number. There you go, there's your effective increase in damage, and effectively what it means is that you are losing out so much just to get a bit of an additional buff, and I personally don't think it's going to be worthwhile. So basically how how Kokomi works is that her healing bonus actually makes up quite a big chunk of her effective damage. So via her Song of Pearls passive, this is based off of your healing bonus and obviously HP, you get the most significant increase in damage in your kit. So once you take out the 2-piece Ocean Youth Clamp set bonus, which is a healing bonus, you actually lose out on a bit of a damage as well as healing, which is something a lot of people not really aware of. And now what's going to happen is you also lose out on what Ocean Youth Clamp set's going to provide you, like that almost 27k damage, assuming no other resistance drops and so on. And you're going to have to ask yourself, is this increase in damage that I'm going to do here over a 3-second interval, is that going to be more than what I'm going to get from an Ocean Youth Clamp set? And then barring that, you're only going to get this in a single target environment, whereas Ocean Youth Clam is still going to hit in an AoE environment, like for all the enemies for 30k. So I really don't think there's a good argument for this first artifact set. Mathematically it's not really, doesn't seem to add much, and I don't think the additional attack speed's going to add even more to it whatsoever. So personally I'm a bit skeptical. Maybe if you've got a C6R5 Kokomi, you could use the new piece in a single target environment where you layer lots of Kazuha buffs and Mona Omen and more attack speed from Jean. You could do, or from Yunjin or whatever, you could do something like that. But for most people with a C1 Kokomi, yeah, a C0 C1, not going to be worth it. The other sort of artifact set here I think is actually going to be worth it, mostly because you can use this in your Nilo Bloom teams. Basically Kokomi wants the elemental mastery. Typically we run 2-piece Gilded, and then let's say 2-piece Ocean Youth Clamp for healing, or Tenacity for the HP. So in Nilo Bloom teams this could actually be quite good, because you can replace, let's say, an elemental mastery circlet, and then you can of course then put in healing bonus, and then that loss that you'll have from elemental mastery can then be made up by the set sort of bonuses which you get. Do keep in mind the 25% bonus here is multiplicative onto the 40%. It's not 40 plus 25, it's 25% of the 40%, so it's basically just an additional 10%, so it goes 40, 50, 60, 80, whatever. So that's how these sort of stacks work. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good set to get. And you might say, well, what's the point of farming it just for Nilo's team? Don't you think it's not resin efficient? I do think it is, because typically you're not going to run Bloom on the one half and then Hyper Bloom or Burgeon on the other half. You typically want to run one of Bloom, Hyper Bloom or Burgeon on one half of the Abyss, and then a more traditional team on the other half. So once you form one set of artifacts like this, I think it should be good to go to then just swap it onto another team if you so wish to do so. So I don't think there's going to be any resin loss or efficiency in it. And of course, I think Kokomi would love this set because this means we can use Kokomi perhaps more on field, because now that we can sort of have a full healing bonus, circlet or whatever, we can then have enough healing, we can then have enough Kokomi on the field. Kokomi herself applies lots of hydro. A lot of people seem to forget that her elemental burst itself also applies its own separate instance of hydro. So you have the little jellyfish, you have Kokomi's normals. If you've got C1, you've got an additional instance, and you've got the elemental burst, and you've got Kokomi's charge attacks, which can also help in an AoE. So there's lots of hydro to go around, and it would just make sense for Kokomi to be one triggering these reactions, and hence a set like this in a Nilo Bloom team can be really, really good. So that's my high-level thoughts. This is just all speculation. We're going to have to do a lot of in-game testing, but that's what I have to say about it. Hope you've enjoyed this little bit of a high-level overview. Thanks for watching. Cheers.